Hello everyone, I am Nick Thinking, and today, I guess this will be the first video in my at least occasional effort to make YouTube videos, where I narrate various interesting things from history of competitive Overwatch, dwelling specifically on its past. I think I might do recent matches, but especially on its past, and especially on the Overwatch League and Overwatch 1, though again, I will definitely cover Overwatch 2. And when I do OWL, it'll probably be 2019 and newer, and especially 2020 and newer, because those are the periods that are most interesting to me and the ones that also have not been preserved very well. They've been preserved well, but that aren't really talked about that much. 2018 and 2019, of course, was Overwatch League's more initial sort of professional birth on Twitch. More popular, the game was more popular. It had this sort of veneer, everything was on LAN. 2020 is really when the wheels of that started to come off, mostly due to COVID. But I and many OWL fans will tell you, and I think we're right, that in some ways OWL was actually its most fun to watch and participate in during this period, during 2020 and 2021, when it was still in Overwatch 1, but when, again, the professionalism started to melt away. It became really interesting, insane, chaotic, and OWL, with its death and the formation of OWCS, which is not something I'm going to pass opinions on here, but and I don't want to say that I'm all negative or anything like that. But in fact, anyone who knows me knows I'm relatively a Blizzard chill, or at least sort of look at things from the perspective of what has to happen and financial realities and things like that. Blizzard chill is not the right phrase. But in any case, I think a lot of what OWL did look like in 2020 and 2021 was very hastily and quickly memory hold by a lot of people, where they just sort of forgot about it, moved on. And I want to talk about this stuff because it's really interesting. It's just so cool. In 2021 in particular, I think OWL was really in its full flower as, again, sort of, there was, people were very good at Overwatch and very optimized, but also there was a good amount of meta variety. It was a really fun season to watch. So anyway, there's various different topics in competitive Overwatch that I'd like to touch on in terms of, match day mentality, especially compositions, the way they're played, or the way they function, and the way different character picks interact, and that classic interplay between what is optimal and what is comfortable. So that is, yeah. I might talk about other video games as well. I mean, in theory, it would only really extend to Smash. I don't really think I'm good enough or have enough experience as a competitor in any others. I like Pokemon, but I'm not that good enough. And again, likewise for Mario Kart, which is the only one that comes to mind. I'm not that high rank, especially now. But though maybe I'll weave those things in. My main influence, of course, is BKC, who makes Pokemon videos. What appealed to me about those is that, again, he just sort of has this massive body of memories and passed down and inherited knowledge and experiences of the game that he just likes to sort of free associate about. They are not video essays, which I have no inherent problems with as a format, but just it is him free associating about what he remembers and what he likes to talk about, and he often associates them with films as well, which are his other pet interest. I might associate these with like music or something else maybe, but again, I'm really inspired by his videos, and I think another advantage of copying his format, and the reason I do this is not because I want to be popular. If I can make some money to help myself and my living situation, my family, that'd be nice. But it's not really about being big. I just want to sort of get these thoughts out and have another way to preserve these matches and sort of my feelings about them and the stories and metagame influences that shape them. And I also, as someone who in my real life, and I will not talk about this much, is studying history. I'm currently a grad student studying history. I would like to think that I have some sort of storytelling acumen that will help, but meh, who cares? And so yeah, with this channel, I don't know how often I'll upload. I don't know if this will be a thing I do, but I just want to, again, just want to put on VODs that I find interesting and talk about why they're interesting and the sort of various trends that go on. There's a lot of content similar to this out for Overwatch, but most of it is very, very directly targeted at improvement and sort of, why this works, why do the pros do this, what can you take away from this in order to get better at the game? There's nothing wrong with that. I watch Spyla, I watch OC, whatever, Coach OC, but that's not what I'm doing, at least not entirely. I think I have a decent understanding of the game that I will use to talk about what I see, but I'm not an expert. I do not pretend to be an expert. Please do not think I'm a coach or something. I've never coached a team. I don't really plan on it, frankly. but I just want to talk about what I see because it's interesting and cool to think about. And again, the interplay between all these different elements and moving parts is just so enjoyable. So, with the sort of mission statement, as it were, of my video recording out of the way, I think I'm going to get into this first match and the actual topic at hand. So, for this video, my first idea that I had, or like an idea that I thought was pretty easy to sort of get started with, is when a hero is weak overall, but strong in a particular map anyway, namely control map, actually. It just so happens to be control maps here. For the first examples I'm going to show, and again, I just want to put on these VODs, talk about them, and see what's interesting and how they work, is Soldier 76 on Oasis City Center. So this match is one that I found pretty quickly just looking on Wikipedia, and I think it's actually, and it ended up being really fun to watch, so I think this is a good starting point. So in terms of what this looks like, so Soldier has really, as long as this map exists, at least as far as I'm aware, been really strong on this map. The main reason is simply this big T-shaped high ground that you see in the middle of the map. It is just incredibly good for Soldier, and even when Soldier is terrible, and he really has been for almost all of competitive Overwatch, this is a character, he's really just eclipsed by the other hit scans, as anyone will tell you. He does reliable damage over time, but Soldier lacks the burst that any sort of hit scan that flicks, you know, Cassidy, Ashe, Widowmaker has, and this really limits his viability. However, Soldier on a high ground is still really strong, and he has certain qualities that make him really good on this map and on certain high grounds. The other main one really is his mobility, his run speed, and the fact that he can just run whatever he wants, rather, not the raw speed, which allows him also to jump from the high ground to the tower in the middle of the point, which is really important. Also, quickly, I forgot to mention this, hero bans were still in effect this time, and the heroes banned for this period, the Junior qualifiers, were Tracer, Sombra, Ryan, and Zenyatta. I'm not going to talk that much about the meta at this time, and frankly, some of those are relatively inconsequential, but the Tracer ban is pretty important, and one of the reasons people play Soldier is also because Tracer is strictly better than him most of the time, but Soldier offers a similar mobility and sort of style of dealing damage as Tracer, but he's not Tracer. So when Tracer's banned and Soldier's legal, you can see Soldier. Another benefit Soldier has over Tracer, and this is one of the few other ones of note, is that he can also take all kinds of angles and run very fast and go all over the map really quickly like Tracer. But unlike Tracer, he doesn't have the incredible fall off or reliance on close range. He can do all that stuff, take all those angles, and play from mid range. So you see, NYXL just do the textbook thing. I mean, they just set up floor on high, and you can just see this high ground's really commanding, and they always use the tower. The tower is an incredibly important part. And we note the comp difference here. What NYXL is on was on basically standard at the time. This was the most common comp in APAC, at least. NA was a little different in this meta. And the comp is itself kind of interesting. The lack of Brig is noteworthy. Mercy is frankly useless in competitive Overwatch 2, especially after they changed Pharah. The role of the Mercy, it's kind of interesting. The main reason is simply the Tracer and Sombra are both banned. So Brig is a little redundant. You might as well have more poke. Echo was also still very strong at this time. This is 2021. In fact, those of you who remember specifically the 2021 June Joust, who remember what that means, will know that Echo ended up being really the beating heart of the meta at the time. In any case, so Mercy is, again, I mean, the support crop is limited. You know, keep in mind, so many supports were added in Overwatch 2, you know. Zen is too immobile and too squishy even without Tracer. Just gets rolled over by a dive. Brig is fine. We should note that Brig still isn't useless, but it's just like, you know, your support doesn't really need to do that much besides pocket the Echo. Might as well have Mercy, at least to start. Brig is just kind of worse and just too little damage, too much just a do-nothing character. Lucio is okay. From an Overwatch 2 perspective, you might really readily think of Lucio, and he does provide some nice poke, but Lucio just doesn't really help pocket the Echo at all, and is again just like not enough healing, not enough progress. What's even left? Bap, probably the same problem as Zen, except he can't even pocket an Echo. Zen could even put an orb on Echo, Bap can't. So suffice to say that Mercy, despite being pretty shit in many Overwatch 1 metas and basically every Overwatch 2 meta, actually performs a purpose here. If we can use Soul's comp is even funnier. They have Hog and Ball, which I think is going to be really fun to talk about, because obviously most of the time Ball likes to have an off tank, namely D.Va or Sigma, and Hog is really funny though because you know, the off-tank's fundamental job in this comp, if nothing else, is just anchor point. So the hog is the one who anchors point, which is really funny, because you'll see Gesture just sit there. He just sits on point. It's really awesome. MXL take first fight, and you see again, this is just like the one thing Soldier has, is he gets to actually play this high ground. And you can see it's really oppressive. Soul have to take all kinds of weird routes. Prophet almost gets Feather there. And again, it's gonna be really funny to just see Gesture because he just walks around. It's like Ball as a tank, as we know, can kind of do dives on his own. So Gesture will just be off, just like on just doing random shit, like just going on a mission basically anywhere on the map. It's really awesome. It's actually quite strange from Soul, frankly, that they didn't switch off Soldier, because the Soldier is worse for the retake than he is on first fight. But again, Soldier is sort of fat Tracer, and I think that's one reason is Tracer's gone, so there's no real point in like switching off a Soldier. And again, you can sort of see that he can take angles and really just run all over the map and take advantage, specifically of the geometry of this point of Oasis, where there's like a million different sight lines and a million different chokes, and Soldier can pretty easily reach all of them. And they're all at like a mid-range, but that's not an issue because it's Soldier. You see Fitz doesn't even immediately take the high ground, which is interesting. Chasing the kill is important. You see MXL has to path like this, just these weird contrived paths, so they don't get poked out by the Soldier or the Echo. So Dynasty's comp in general seems pretty heavily structured around basically letting Prophet carry, or Gesture for that matter, which in a sense is also how their roster was constructed at this time, though Fitz and Marvel were not, you know, the complete laughingstocks that they would become later in their careers. And again, you just see how terrifying, like Gesture, she just sits on point. He's just big and greedy sitting on point. Feather actually, unreal respect for the copy there. That shit was so funny. He just copies the Hog, and frankly Big Dog's Gesture, but you see Hog, despite having no damage reduction besides his E, no shielding, no nothing, he really has just the threat of the hook, and the fact that it exists just has to deter them. They have to take these tortured, contrived routes to point, and they just cannot stare him in the face, or he'll blow up a Winston, or blow up a Squishy. And you see New York actually goes Cass here just to deal with the flyer a little better, and because again, they're on retake. Soldier's really good when you're defending, he's not as good on retake, and you see the importance of the tower there. See where Fitz is playing in the tower. You see where Jonak has to go so he doesn't get poked out by the Soldier Echo. Soldier on high ground just sees so much of the damn map. And he could even have a Mercy pocket, though the Mercy's going to be escorting. Marvel gets Jonak there. You see the Visor actually gets something done, so you just see how this works. Yakba manages to get a kill, but the damage has mostly been done, one would think. And you can see Prophet can just finish it off. It's just textbook from Soul. Again, I would really say... and you see Friday goes Brig actually, because again, I think to an Overwatch 2 player, Brig would make perfect sense here. Because yeah, okay, you don't do poke, but you make your Ana so survivable, and you still contribute to poke by allowing DPS to take off angles more often and for longer. It's also good against the ball, which I think is the main reason Friday does it. Jonak finds Marvel. This entire fight is so shit, because it's like, look at this. Look at this. Well, not shit, but like, look at this, like it's like 90 something and Soul is still chasing kills and they res Fitz and they have like no ults except bomb. Friday's going Brig for the hell of it. Soul has copy, right? And like this is just it. You know, if you're Soul, you're thinking, okay, we win this map, we go home. Prophet gets a nice beam. Bianca just has to touch. Like, Bianca has to use ult just to touch because, you know, that's how D.Va was used half the time. Still is. It's like the D.Va has to overextend. Prophet even gets the D.Va bomb because this is like, I think, copy and D.Va bombs. D.Va ults still worked differently, so it was really easy for Echo to charge bomb and then charge remake and then do the remake damage and all that shit. Again, I think that formed the groundwork for an entire meta. Somehow Jonak finds Marvel. I mean, again, Marvel has no Matrix, right? So this is tough, but Fitz still gets Flora. Like, this should be it. Like, Yakpung is down, but Feather actually, absolute masterclass. Feather's been on the Hog masterclass all map, and there he goes. He copies Hog and then hooks Gesture and kills him, and this is, like, probably the only way Soul win this fight, because now they actually can't scare you off from getting point. Bianca can finish off Fitz, and see, Avril's as shocked as we are. Like, holy shit, they actually turned it. Feather almost got a second hook, but Creative got a nice sleep to lock it down, and now OXL are actually in control, and again, we see, you know, the kind of understanding that we have more readily now that Overwatch 2 has come out. We've really seen her more, the value of Brig and still holding down an angle. Marvel rolls through like always, or as he should, frankly. He gets antied again. Feels like it's chill. Prophet got anti, he's chill. Again, you see Fitz, this is just fat Tracer. This is just Tracer from mid-range. And NYXL smartly, or well, maybe not even smartly, but NYXL are all holed up in this one area. The one area where the gigantic crossfire created by Soul can't do anything. And you see Gesture can just play point, like trying to discourage everyone, and Yakma has to just walk on eggshells around the tower. But Marvel gets blown up. In general, Marvel is, if there's one person to blame, and there really never is, but you know, if we have to blame one person, it'll be Marvel. That guy was just getting slept on cooldown. Gesture lurking, but they find a sleep on him as well, and again, you just explode. Soul's comp is so funny. It's really, yeah, Fitz gets a visor off. No one to see or do. And YXL, I mean, they know their sidelines. And again, Marvel just don't act as Marvel's number. It's so funny. Prophet tries his best, but they just got too many people. He's the only tank on his team, and he's Echo. All that good stuff. And again, you see, duplicated tanks have full HP, not the like nerfed HP they do. I don't even think they did that until Rush 2 or something. Like copying a tank does less HP, because I think when there's no tank passive, it's not that bad to have 600 HP. And NYXL rescue that map from the jaws of defeat, and so you see again the power of Soldier, but also the way you can kind of counterplay it by just really smartly playing angles, and just the, frankly, I mean, it wasn't really Fitz's fault, but it's just such a funny character. What's even wild, actually, I was originally just gonna end this VOD here, but Soul actually continues to play Soldier on this map, and you can again kind of see why. There's that high ground on point that he can use. And again, Tracer is banned, so your options are limited. Of course, Soul's comp is the same, and again, the professed functions of this comp seem to be let Prophet carry and let Gesture carry. No one wants to touch point, lest they encounter Gesture's pure Roadhog aura, and this comp is pretty low resource. The tanks don't need much help. Hell, even Soldier is basically self-sufficient, so you can devote like all your healing basically to Prophet. You see, Marvel grabs Flora, Feather gets Gesture, because again, Feather has been big dogging Gesture all map. And Soul, and you know, NYXL have to play so balled up. Marvel cannot say, like, I think what Marvel needs to figure out, and maybe he does, is sometimes you'll talk to a ball player. I've had this on teams who are dogging them. Sometimes even though they're ranking ball, they'll just be like, yeah, I can't slam against this comp. Like, I just have to roll through. And I think Marvel has to accept this if he wants a chance at winning. They got Friday. They traded out Friday, which was really hard. Excuse me. Okay, you see Prophet can just free fire. When this comp is functioning, Prophet is just like completely lights out. They just allow him to get a perma pocket. And Fitz just finds himself in the middle of the team. And again, this is the main thing. Well, I was going to say the high ground was the main thing, but Fitz loves to just ignore the high ground to chase kills or take a crazy off angle. I mean, I'm sure a coach beat the concept of angles into him not long before this match, before they became one of the classic tier 3 coach bromides of Overwatch 2. But you see, I mean, the thing about Soldier, Feather's terrified. Echo's so broken, and Feather can't peek that because Fitz is ready to mow him down. In fact, I mean, frankly, this vindicates Fitz's weird-ass angle. Creative just plays, Creative is just on an island. In fact, Creative might even have to be farther back so he's not dive food. Fitz is just over here. It's so funny. Like, they're just on every part of the map. It's so fucking funny. Fitz jiggles the camera a little bit, you know. And again, Echo copying D.Va is so broken. Like, Prophet gets a bomb all the time. Just shoot it into a room and they have to scatter like cockroaches. Marvel's in his element now. He's swinging through Friday. He's figuring out how to survive. Again, maybe he's slamming less or more smartly. And NYXL though they've been banking ults. Soul only have sport ults. What happens here? Prophet now is the high ground holder. Fitz is... Okay, I think Fitz is also up there, actually. No, that's Creative. Where the hell is Fitz? He's probably behind them somewhere, knowing him, but my god. You see Nano Cowboy, still strong. Cassidy's such a squishy hero that it is quite nice to nano him. We still find Marvel. That's actually probably another reason Flora goes Cass is to deal with the ball. Though, Marvel, though... Again, Feather is just hog-gapping... Okay, this is so fire. Feather is hog-gapping Gesture every chance he gets. This is so awesome. Was he an off-tank player in a past life? Early in his career? It's so raw. So, you know, MXL point control, of course. And again, they just they have to play in a clump, which is just not how we think of dive today. But different time, and again, they're fighting, you know, Ball, Soldier, Echo. They know Soul's gonna have every angle, and they can't win these 1v1s. So they're just playing a big clump. Prophet gets Feather. Again, Prophet is just virtuosic here. Echo copying Diva was so fucking broken, dude. He gets a nuke that quick, and he gets remake, because this is after remake buff, and again, that's just it. That's just the map, because it's just such a disgusting thing. To be honest, the sleeper benefit of Soul's comp, low-key the sleeper benefit of Soul's comp, besides playing into the strengths of Prophet and Gesture and giving them resources, is they deprive the enemy Echo of a Diva. The enemy Echo doesn't get Diva, they have to settle for Roadhog. Now, clearly Feather can settle for Roadhog just fine. This guy's a demon, but there's levels to this, clearly. So, for my next character, besides Soldier 76, I want to take a look at Junkrat here. Now, as some of you may know or guess, Junkrat has historically been one of, if not the weakest characters in Overwatch in general. The most notable exception would probably be not long after he got buffed in 2018 and even 2017, where he was relatively common on certain maps and for certain teams who, for various reasons, wanted to have one over whatever other DPS were on offer. You know, probably, you know, replace a Tracer, replace a Widow, something like that. And even then, he was kind of off meta, and especially as Season 1 wore on, people realized that it was broadly not optimal to have him. He was just a crutch that certain teams could lean on. However, even when he's been terrible, which is almost always, Junkrat is often seen play on Lijiang Tower, especially, actually, Lijiang Control Center, where basically Lijiang Control Center is sort of solved insofar as everyone takes a fight on the stairs near servers, and therefore the first fight is an incredibly close-range engagement where Junkrat's incredible weakness of just basically not being able to do anything from long range consistently, or at least not without peeking, and then he would be like looking at the skybox trying to get an insane ricochet while a hit scan could just mow him down in 2 hits or 1 hit, is overruled. What's interesting though, and I'm going to start playing because this map is actually not that interesting besides the hero picks, is this interaction on Night Market where Junkrat is also being used, and London rolls out on Rein Zarya, and then Boston rolls out on Rein Orisa. So London's composition seems kind of tailor-made to teleporting onto point. Where, again, by teleporting, which you can do from spawn, not from spawn, but from first choke to this point, of course, as you can still do today, London, by skipping poke phase, seems to just want the maximum close range damage possible, which is why they use Junk and even Zarya here. Indeed, one thing about 6v6 people often forget is people often like to gas up Rein Zarya as like this amazing tank duo, iconic, and it is really fun to play, but it's worth noting that at high level it was really one of the worst tank duos ever, outside of like Goats, I guess. Or Rein was fine, Rein Rush was fine, but Rein would almost always, with the exception of very, very flat maps, and even then it was a comfort pick that was mostly suboptimal. People would run Rein Diva and even Rein Sigma instead. In fact, we'll see Rein Sigma on the next map, and after Ulfig loses first fight. Spoilers. But we can at least see the vision here, and that again, when you TP to point, you basically skip the poke phase, and therefore, you know, if you want maximum close range damage, Zarya helps a lot. And to his credit, it probably is quite easy for Zarya to get 100 energy against what Boston are running. Indeed, Boston outputs even more poke than normal because they have Rein Orisa, which was not unheard of, especially around this time, but was pretty bad. I mean, the typical Overwatch 1 rush comps were Rein Diva or Rein Sigma, like I mentioned, and Orisa just doesn't really have much close range brawl. She's not useless at close range, but she much prefers, obviously, to be very far away from her opponent, and again, she doesn't provide the utility that Sigma or Diva do. Her shield isn't as mobile as Sigma's, she doesn't have an eat of any kind, but Orisa does have a few benefits. First of all, kind of like Soldier 76, as I mentioned earlier, even though first fight or the retake might be hard, if you do win first fight and you end up having to defend the point, then she's pretty strong, because obviously she can do all that poke. Second of all, she does, of course, still have Bongo and Pull, not that she has them in Overwatch 2, which are still incredibly useful, obviously. Bongo is probably the best ult or one of the best ults in the game. And if you haven't played Overwatch 1, you probably do know that Juno has one of the best ults in the game, and well, that's what a group damage boost will do for you. Additionally, Orisa has pull, which even in a rush comp, or especially with a rush comp, is still pretty nice because you could pull people into some sort of burst damage, or a fire strike, or a Rhine swing, or a Rhine pin, etc. So, I mean, again, I'll just let it play. This comp, and what's interesting here is Boston, though it makes sense for their comp, Boston does not TP. And you can kind of see why, because one, Boston has Orisa, so they want to play with like a little more distance, and two, when both teams TP, it becomes a really weird and really high variance situation because both people basically just appear in this. Both teams just sort of appear in the sky from those top windows, and they're so close to each other, and they're just like in the air that it's really hard to actually consistently, like, reliably guarantee a win. Or if one team is slightly slower with their rollout, like whatever, the TP is a little hard to get on the window, or the Lucio amps a little late or something, then getting there second is also really bad. So you can see that Boston just prefers to skip this entirely by just speeding to point the regular way, and clearly that worked just fine for them. So that's nice. And again, now that they have point, Boston's in a much more comfortable position. Blase stays Junkrat, which is frankly insane. Because, if it wasn't bad enough that he was on it at all on this map, that's frankly too big for him, even with the TP, now it's just incredibly hard for him to get anything done. Because, look, he has to just, like, jiggle peek into, like, one mine, and you could say, oh, well, Junkrat actually, he's a really good shield, he's a really great tank buster, which is true. But, the thing about, first of all, Boston are making it basically impossible to bust them by having Orisa. They'll always have like one shield. And second of all, I think tank busting in general, at least, some of the time in Overwatch 1 is like a Kappa thing to even talk about, because it's like, yeah, okay, you're going to spend all your time shooting a shield instead of shooting a player. That's definitely a good use of your limited time before you fall over. And Molfig goes Sigma, which, like I said, Ryan Sigma Rush was fine, and it makes a lot of sense. They can match the shielding a bit, they can do some big splash damage into the big cluster, and Zarya is just, again, lax. Zarya is frankly just not good. But you can see one of the things about 6v6 is just this sheer visual clutter. Not the 5v5 is immune, and Blase doesn't even get anything with Tire. That's another problem with Junkrat, and especially one of the ways he really falls off at high level is that, if you're new or bad, like in a silver lobby or whatever, it is kind of hard to hit Riptire. It's like small and fast and you can wall climb, but when you have the mechanics of a pro, it's not that hard to shoot Riptire. But it does depend on the map, and there used to be that like Riptire drop down glitch that Aquamarine talks about, whatever. And Blase goes Doom. In fact, when I was originally looking at VODs for this, I was really looking for Doom VODs, because Doom on Lijiang Control Center was also a thing, or Doom on Lijiang in general was itself a thing, even when he was relatively weak otherwise. But I found the Control Center from this map, and it was more of a Junkrat situation. But Junkrat's also applicable for the topic of this video, and like I said, Control Center will be awesome. This is a little boring. And you see, it's just kind of textbook. I don't know. Well, Kellex got walled, but that's tough, man. And you see how broken Bongo is. London, even with Rhine Sigma, can't push into it. There's just no point. Like, you just have to wait. And you see it just buys Boston like 20% of free time. Mulfig bricks the flux. And you see, that's the benefit of Doom. I mean, like, you could just actually create flanking pressure and one-shot someone. And you can charge your punch while you're still behind a shield, if it gets one on. London actually gets a fight, credit where it's due. I think I assumed it was 100-0, or misremembered it as 100-0, but Boston have good discipline on their ults, so they should be chilling. Again, I think Boston isn't going to TP to point, because especially also on the retake, TP to point can be really inconsistent and finicky. It's really like a first fight thing, though that's not to say Sim is bad, especially at this time period, because she regains armor by shooting shields, and TP can still be used for rotations to avoid poke or otherwise surprise the enemy, or even TP a certain person, or send a turret bomb behind, what have you. So Sim herself is still fine. We'll see. They were looking to farm it, actually. And yes, stand 1 TPs and oh, it's a juicer, man. Excellent work there. But TP shatter is real. And also, Boston shouldn't even win this. Boston shouldn't even win this fight, by the way. Boston shouldn't even win this fight. They executed their shit all weird. Stand 1 gets a 0-man. Like, half the people don't take the TP. They pick off their main source of healing and the Orisa, and then they just win anyway. Because Faith is freaky. And they have a nice mid-fight beat from Faith, who not only charges it, but quickly realizes, oh, this is actually winnable. And, yeah, it is. And Punk goes out the Wrecking Ball, which, fine stall pick, you know how it goes. And wow, Boston should not have won that. You see how tragic this London team was. What an incredible testament it is to everyone on this team who's still in the scene, especially Hottie, of course, because he's now like the consensus best Reinhardt in the world, but even the ones who are still in tier 2, because it is hard, you know, to be on a team like this. I mean, oh my god. But London persevered, and now we're gonna go to the next map, which oh wait, never mind. We're skipping this. This one's like kind of interesting, but it's not really the topic of my videos. I'm just gonna move past this in silence. It is interesting though, and speaking of 6v6 nostalgia, a lot of people like to circle jerk about double bubble, so feel free to give this a sniff if that's your thing. Now this is what I'm interested in. Blase is once again on junk, which actually makes sense, and so is Valentine. This was probably like the best junk map in the game, except for like some 2CP defenses maybe. Because again, everyone is more or less in agreement that you have to just take the first fight on stairs near the servers. And when you do that, it's just an incredibly close range engagement where Junk's weaknesses actually are overlooked. And everyone's in such a compressed hallway that he can actually get big ricochets. And even if he doesn't like kill a support, and he very well might, he can just, you know, force out cooldowns. Like if your BAP just gets jump scared by a mine that bounces off the wall behind him and does like after its speech, he's gonna just like use left shift to try and stay alive, shit like that. So this fight is completely incomprehensible, by the way. I don't know how who wins, Boston wins, or like what even goes on. Like what's even the turning point? I actually don't know. There's a difference between. This is why I was a little worse at Overwatch 2. Like Overwatch 1, like what even is the turning point that actually decides this fight? Because like Kellex is either and then instantly Faith gets Kellex. I guess it's Kellex dying. And I guess it's just Boston managed their HP better because Stand 1 gets he gets countercharged and then on top of a trap. And there's just better lamp. And yeah, I guess when Boston got low, they still had both their supports. When London got low, they were missing one. And then I think Valentine made have even junk gapped Blase, which is why he is a player of all time. Shout out Valentine. You can watch the Crimson episode on Uncoachable for more about him. But you know. And so, yeah, again, you kind of see the vision of... What's really funny, actually, is Ryan Orisa. Because, again, like I said, it's like kind of weird in first fight. Though you can see the vision because, again, if you're maximizing the damage you output in close range, you can also maximize the shielding you have to kind of counteract that. I think Orisa's utility is the shield and pull in a really close range fight. Because, yeah, she's not doing brawl like Signasari or Diva are. But she provides a big shield against all that Junkrat stuff. And you also see the nice thing about Orisa. Again, once you cap... Punk can play up and get a bunch of free poke, like whittle down their shields. And you'll see as they start to push, they end up playing a split that's really, really funny. They are based now just on a bunker comp, but they have a Ryan who's like a little flanking DPS. Well, he's playing on the team for now. You see, yes, Stan 1 just goes to point, and he's just this like, just like you can't get too close to me or he's just a melee DPS. He's just a giant Reaper with a shield, and then the rest of it's just a pretty normal bunker comp. You know, hybrid, whatever, does a turret bomb, I guess. It's so funny. Look, they're still split. You can't do, you know, rush comp, it's hard to deal with that. I mean, I think it was kind of a misplay for London to even push mid. I think they probably have to go stairs and, like, flush out people from there. Valentine manages to keep his tire alive, but, you know, another problem, stuff like lamp exists. It's like, okay, big whoop. You know, you actually landed it right in the middle of the team, but it doesn't matter because they have lamp. Though I suppose baiting out lamp is kind of nice because it's such a long cooldown. See, Punk is here. Again, Punk has like the best ult in the game right now. And, you know, I don't think there's a single comp that's bad with that, except maybe a comp that's so spread out they can't use it. But yeah, like, London just have to kite that. They have to amp out. Wolfie got a big eat, but, you know, you're not playing in a fight, so who cares? And then, again, it just buys them so much time. And Stan 1's doing the third person thing. And London did not check their fucking corner. That is... He actually got... Imagine telling someone today... Imagine telling someone in 2025 or 4 that Stand 1 MTD'd the shit out of Hottie. It sounds laughable, but it happened. And another thing that I really like about this match you're about to see is Molfig goes ball for the stall. And it's just like, yeah, see, it's just like, you have 88%. You guys all died at the same time. You can just get a fight as a team. You don't need to go something to touch. See, look, like, they gotta fight as a team. There's no reason for you to do this. I think he just wanted to play ball, which is really, really funny for an off tank on a bad team in 2021. Why would you go ball? I'll take his Bomberman somehow. Again, London actually win this fight. Maybe the ball Ryan is the truth. I don't know, but it's just like, why? You didn't need to do it. he's just bouncing on the walls through fuck all. That was even better. And this is one of the favorite things in the map. Rip a hybrid hottie. Push into right side here. You see Rip a hybrid there. They're wireframes to the wall, and Valentine just gets a one-shot combo on them. Right there, two squishies just explode. Uber is right. Valentine got a nice left shift, left click combo on there. I think it's a tire, and I think it either gets no one or okay, it's a Ryan that's already out of position. And then, I mean, that's just it. Also, Molfig's about to do something really awesome, as if he wasn't. Oh, never mind, it's next fight. But yeah, I mean, this is just slapstick. You see, like, Alex goes to touch. He actually lives somehow, which is insane. They have shield, which is good. The funny thing about map 5s in general, until very recently, and especially among bad teams, they're just complete dogfights. It's just everyone is just like so, like, all team play just degenerates and it becomes deathmatch, especially between bad teams. And when you're in a bad team, the pressure to win a situation like this is actually higher than lower, because you don't want to be the team that lost 20 million, or you don't want to be the team that lost to the other shit team. Like, you don't want to be the team that lost to London. It's embarrassing. And then also, Valentine left shifts Molfig and he slams directly on a trap. It's blown up. Absolute dogfight. I really like the Tracer, actually. It's a stall pick, but also London's comp can't actually do anything about Tracer. Especially because they don't have an off tank, they have a wall. Alex has speed, good for him. And I guess they stable a little bit, because Hybrid just gets all this damage. Here's the Molfig Wrecking Ball, maybe the GOAT. Yeah, London really should have won that, but again, like, you can kind of see, it's actually kind of incredible that Boston dropped 2 maps. At least in this map 5, they seem completely in control. Like, whenever a fight looks good for London in terms of numbers, Boston just clutches it up. So one has to wonder how they even dropped 2 maps. I think probably nerves, pressure, or practice. Like, there were some maps where London just had a set play that they couldn't deal with. Or it took them this long to realize Ryan Orisa was the truth. I don't know. You see, yeah, I mean, it's all curtains, but this map was so good. You see a Junkrat mirror, you see the value of Junkrat on a map like this, even when he's useless, and then just that slapstick, frankly, control center was incredible, so I'm very glad to share this. And look at Boston, half of them, Punk isn't even happy. Punk is miserable. He got a big map 5 win for his first win of the season, and he looks, frankly, beside himself in agony right now. Never mind London. But yeah, so there is a test case in Junkrat, and I think with that will be my first video done. Again, I'm excited to think more about this and try and brainstorm more of these ideas, and I really want to show people random games that have been almost completely forgotten, even though they're just so funny and bizarre from a really funny period in the game's life. So thank you for watching.